welcome to the Bengals Blitz. Can you guys subscribe to the page? We appreciate all support. You guys are listening to us. Hit the follow button. Give this podcast a 5-star rating. Appreciate all the support that we've had over the last few years. A couple house cleaning items. The Bengals had orange pants. I have a black jersey I'm not wearing at the moment, but if I had orange pants on, it would be what the Bengals combination would be on December 19th, a Thursday night football game against the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season. The Bengals are going to stripe out the jungle. It's going to be a very loud, frenzied atmosphere, hopefully with playoff implications on the line for both teams. And I'm excited to see what that looks like again in prime time. They did it on SNF last year against the Buffalo Bills, and it was a great turnout, and Cincinnati won that game. Hoping the same result can come for the Bengals later on in the season in December against arch rival Cleveland, who decided, we love our orange pants. We're just thinking about orange pants. That tweet that they put it out with Myles Garrett and Joe Burrow on the ground, and a lot of people had reception over it, and reception that is heard in Cleveland and Cincinnati just dialed back and forth. It's been pretty funny to listen to that stuff. And also, before we get into the bulk of the show, a giveaway. On my Instagram page, on the Cut to the Chase podcast Instagram page, just posted a giveaway. We are giving away Colts Bengals preseason tickets. The game is on Thursday, August 22nd at 8:00 p.m. at Paycor Stadium. The tickets will be in the 100s, the lower bowl level. It's going to be a fun experience. This will be the last preseason game before the regular season hits. And just wanted to show appreciation for everyone that has shown support over the past couple of years with another giveaway to a Bengals preseason game. So if you guys want to apply, if you guys want to get in on this, make sure that you like the post, comment, and tag somebody in the comments on Instagram, and then repost it on your story. If you're going on to Twitter for it, go on ahead and like the post. And I want you to comment and mention somebody in the comments and repost it on Twitter. And then on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, make sure you like it and mention somebody in the comments and share it. So all of the same type of thing right there, and you will be automatically entered into the contest. Without further ado, we're going to talk about some things that have happened over the last couple of days since the preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers happened. We'll look at some studs and duds from that game on Saturday, and we will talk about what to watch for this upcoming Saturday against the Chicago Bears. And they also have some joint practices, so we'll discuss a little bit of that matter. A dumping of the mailbag. Jamar Chase was a no-show in practice on Tuesday, August the 13th. He has been in the holding situation. He was not there. He's been there the whole time, sometimes in uniform, sometimes not in uniform, but obviously not participating at all in any circumstance. But today he actually was not present. So that is something different than what we've seen. Zach Taylor called it a day-to-day. So, I mean, the thing that has me personally worried is because I drafted Jamar Chase 3rd overall in fantasy. Jamar, I need you out there, man. I need you out there. You're gonna be my bread and butter next to Cooper Kupp in the fantasy league. But again, I digress. Jamar Chase, they're trying to figure out the whole thing with the contract, obviously, but we'll see how long this holds into. And we all hope that Jamar is out there for week 1. That's 25 days from now. So hoping that number one can get on the field and, obviously know the huge impact that he has on the team when he is in between those white lines. So, we'll keep monitoring the Jamar Chase situation going on inside the organization. Jake Browning, he got hurt, rib injury. He's out for a few weeks again, per Zach Taylor. I don't know what hit he took or anything like that during the preseason game. None of that was released, but Jake Browning will be out for a few weeks. Hopefully we can get him back before the season opener and have him in uniform and everything else. But that'll give Logan Woodside a chance to get even more reps and have him show out and try to be the 3rd quarterback on that depth chart and keep him there on the roster. Brad Robbins, a hip flexor injury, got hurt in practice on Tuesday. He was sitting on the cart and he's getting checked out, and he didn't seem to practice at all. We'll see how that goes. Monitoring it's going to give Ryan Recco a chance to have more opportunities to punt the football, and he looked pretty good in the preseason game. He was able to get a lot of distance and drive on the football. So we're going to see what Ryan has in the Windy City in Chicago on Saturday. So that'll be something to look forward to. And then I'm Marius Mims. Pec injury, that came out of nowhere. That one hurt. He's out for several weeks. Zach said it's nothing major, but again, when you hear several weeks, it's not a couple, it's not a few. I mean, you're looking at maybe a couple weeks into the season in that regard, but they ramped up Trent Brown as getting in there for right tackle reps. So hopefully Trent Brown can get up to speed over the next couple of weeks and be at pretty good form going into week 1 against his former team, the New England Patriots. So we'll obviously monitor that situation with Mims and see how Trent Brown is coming along. Now we move into the stud and dud category against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dud might be harsh in that regard. Stud is obviously not harsh. It's terms of endearment in that regard. But hey, I mean, there were a lot of Bengals players that played really well on Saturday. I know it was a 17-14 game. It was a low scoring game, but there was a lot to be happy about as a Bengals fan. And then there was some stuff that just kind of scratch your head over. It's the first preseason game. Guys are getting some of the jitters out, getting some of that rush shaken off. So again, some of that stuff you don't have to look too far into, but there's some things that were just on replay, and we'll see what everything looked like. Start off with the studs. I mean, Joe Burrow, he came out there one drive. It was a 12th play, I believe, 73-yard drive that they went on and scored a touchdown pass over to T. Higgins. It was nice to see the mixture of receivers along with T. Higgins getting worked in there. Tried to hit him on a deep ball on our side of the field, and it was incomplete. But again, seeing Joe trying to get out of the pocket and throw the deep ball with seeing that there was no real issue with his wrist at all, which was nice. And then you go back and you see the timing on some of those routes. He threw a nice ball to Trenton Irwin. That was a contested catch. He threw a third down pass over middle to Andre Yoshivas. It was a very nice catch and run. And just, Burrow being able to get the ball out quick and have control over the offense in one drive. It looked really nice to see him out there and, get his feet wet a little bit. But I think Joe Burrow played a very good and very solid first drive. The offense looked pretty good on that regard. Josh Newton defensively, he had an interception on Kyle Trask. Newton, when I saw Josh Newton, there were some highlights that came from training camp. I don't go to all the practices. I've been to one practice. I'll go to another one next week. But with Josh Newton, I saw him getting some run with the ones over the last couple of weeks, and I was like, Newton getting ticked with the ones. I had to ask some people about that and see, if that was a real thing. And obviously him having an interception on Saturday was big, and then him having some more run with the ones on practice on Tuesday. And Cam Taylor-Britt had a presser at his locker on Tuesday after Tuesday's practice, and he was talking about Josh Newton, saying that guy's going to help us win a lot of games. And seeing that they have, a young rookie 5th-round pick, and he's already making an impact like that, and he might make an impact defensively on the field this year as a rookie, that's pretty big stuff. Obviously you got the corner battle with DJ Turner and Dax Hill. But again, and then obviously you have the solidify with Mike Hilton in the slot and Cam Taylor-Britt being, his own on an island. But having that depth with Josh Newton, that is, really nice to see, and, excited to see what Newton's able to do. I mean, he was, high pointing the football. He was sticking with receivers pretty well, a couple pass breakups, did a really good job. Then the other stud, going 3 studs, 3 duds. The third stud, Jermaine Burton. Again, Burton played in the second half, against a lot of second and third string guys, but Jermaine Burton looked really, really good. Ran a hitch route, caught it for about 7 yards, goes on ahead and burns a guy 37 yards down the field and catches a go ball touchdown for the Bengals to take the lead. Burton was able to show his speed and route running. He ran a hitch and go on the outside and was able to break free and score the touchdown. He did a really good job. And then when the Bucs took the lead and the Bengals got the ball back, Jermaine Burton made a contested catch 38 yards down the field on the left sideline, a pass from Logan Woodside. Jermaine Burton, I mean, man, it was exciting to watch in that last quarter and a half or so. If you heard Zach Taylor and mic'd up talking to Jamar Chase, he said, we created a monster. That is, I mean, look, Burton's not getting run right now with the ones at the moment, but again, that might be something to look out for coming in these next couple of preseason games and seeing his development. I'm excited to see what Jermaine Burton has, especially going forward into the future. He is a stud. Looking at a couple duds from this game in the Tampa Bay loss, and again, it's the preseason, so you don't take this stuff with a grain of salt at that regard. You're just seeing how guys are playing. I put Jake Browning in this category. I don't want to put him in the category, but I just, something fell off. Again, he has the rib injury, and it's probably came from the game on Saturday. But just when I was watching, just something wasn't clicking. Something really wasn't clicking and everything. He threw an interception. It just, it felt a little bit off. And again, the ribs probably played a factor into it at some point in this contest while he was playing. But, I don't know. I mean, I hope, obviously hope Jake Browning, gets the rest and recovery that he needs. He can come back. And, I have faith and trust in Jake Browning to be a very good backup, but he could have performed better on Saturday. So again, we'll monitor that situation, but I just had him in there. Zach Carter, he was starting along with Chris Jenkins in the second unit. They got bullied. They really did. The run game, they got bullied in the run game. And Chris Jenkins, first game, he's getting double teamed. He's getting, all that stuff. He's getting a lot of attention put on him as the second round pick from Michigan. And Zach Carter, that means for him, I mean, he was getting, one-on-one matchups, and Zach Carter wasn't winning those matchups. Third round pick out of Florida from in the 2022 draft. It just hasn't really panned out at the moment. And I don't know if it's going to develop anymore, if he's going to, play with more, aggressiveness going forward. I don't know, but I wasn't moved in a positive direction by what Zach Carter did on Saturday night. And the third one, Jackson Carman, that looked rough. That looked really rough. I think he had 5 penalties. He had a false start and like 3 or 4 holdings. It really was not good. The second round pick from Clemson in 2021. A lot of Bengals fans talk about, okay, we passed up on Creed Humphrey. Man, I mean, we did pass up on him, but it was just, this is his 4th year. There's no 5th-year option involved since he wasn't a first-round pick. Do the Bengals cut him and just cut their losses at the moment? Offensive line depth, I'm not going to say it's easy to find, but, Jackson Carman did play his services in the 2022-23 divisional round playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. He played a very spotless game in that regard, but other than that, I mean, he's been really inconsistent when he's been out there on the field. So, again, with him having those lapses as a second, third string guy in the first preseason game of the season, you start to scratch your head even more. So I have no idea what to expect with what's going on with Jackson Carman. We're going to go to a break real quick. We're going to talk about Burrow joining the podcast with Ryan Clark and Channing Crowder and Fred Taylor. It was a good time to see them on there. And then what to watch in Chicago during the joint practices and in the preseason game on Saturday. We'll be right back. All right, we're back here on the Cut to the Chase Bengals Blitz. If you guys have watched this far, listened this far, please give this video a like the audio, follow us, subscribe to us, everything. Just do positive stuff with this. We appreciate all the support we've been given over this time. If you guys are interested in the giveaway, go on ahead and go to Instagram and like the post, mention somebody in the comments, and share the post to your story. We appreciate all of that for this cool opportunity. So Burrow, he went on the pivot. You had Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, and Burrow sitting down in Cincinnati. He's talking about, stuff from the past, what he's looking forward to in the season, and how he's been trying to adapt with, a bit of a not newer mindset, but more of a refined mindset in that regard heading into this season. He's been hurt twice in 4 years, 2 season-ending injuries. How does that change his approach and everything else? It was a really good episode, and you guys should go check that out. But, Burrow has been, from what he said, has been, there have been times where he has, maybe had an injury or he's been feeling really, really sore. He's like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to, I'm going to lift heavy still. I'm going to push through it and everything else. And again, not saying he's not going to push through any of that stuff now, but, he's like, I'm going to, take better care of my body in that regard and give myself a day off here. Give myself a day off. That's what he was saying, on the show and everything. And that was an opener to see that, every player is not that all players aren't invincible in the National Football League. Everyone has, a breaking point. Everyone has, that time where it's like, I gotta take my foot off the gas a little bit in this scenario and then put my foot on the gas in most other scenarios. So that was interesting to listen to in that regard. And I'll say this, listening to how Joe was talking about when he was talking about this upcoming season and how he was doing with the injury and rehab process and all, he is coming out with a vengeance is all I'll say. This entire offseason, it's been, injured players get forgotten. And a lot of people forgot what Joe Burrow was capable of doing. And we saw last year when Burrow got over the calf injury and he went 4-1 during a stretch and was top 4 in every major passing category over about a 5 or 6 week span in the National Football League. We saw what Joe Burrow was. We saw that he was performing at a very, very high level. And for Joe to have that extra edge and everything else that, he's coming with in this, in the preseason and training camp and everything else, it should leave all of us Bengals fans excited for what he has in store this season. You're looking at one of the, and actually, if you look at it in the record books, technically now he is the most accurate quarterback in the National Football League history. And again, that can fluctuate. Obviously it's minimum 3 years and all. There's a bunch of different requirements with that. But Joe, what people forget is that, obviously when you think of Joe Burrow, you think of a guy that's really good in the pocket. He elite ball placement, able to spin it over the middle and, just make guys on his team better. He's got that swagger, the Joe Cool, Joey Burrow, like all that stuff. But he's a good athlete. He's able to get out of the pocket and make plays. He's able to step up in the pocket and run for first downs. People forgot about that. That's kind of the thing with quarterbacks now in the National Football League. You got to be able to use your legs. You got to be able to get first downs when you need to. You got to be able to extend plays and buy time and try to find receivers down the field. So, that's been a big thing at the QB position. But, I'll say I'm just excited to see what Joe's got and everything this season. But again, I really hope Jamar's out there because he was talking about his chemistry with Jamar has already been at a point where it's almost we don't have to say anything type chemistry. We look at each other, we know what we want to do, and we go out there and do it. And when it's one of the more unique scenarios of those two playing in college and being that successful and then going to the NFL and instantly being that successful, it's a rarity in this league. You normally don't get the best quarterback and the best receiver from college playing with each other instantly in the National Football League. It's almost like, All American or whatever. It's like the writing's crazy, but seeing those two on the field, When you're looking at quarterback receiver duo, again, Travis Kelce's a tight end. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. But if you're looking at quarterback and wide receiver duo, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are the best in football. They are the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the game of football. And I honestly I don't think there can be many other arguments made in that regard when you're talking about elite level talent at both of those positions. And again, people can make the argument of quarterback pass catcher if you want to go that route, and you can go, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But I'd still take Burrow and Chase, in my opinion. But that's me wearing a Bengals jacket and a bunch of Bengals stuff behind me. Hey, Cincy hats back there. Added that to the mix. But again, I'm just excited for Bengals football. 25 days away. This is just, oh man, it's like, Christmas morning when you wake up on that Sunday morning and, you turn on all the pregame shows, the pregame shows when you're looking at 7, 8, 9 in the morning, you're looking at your NFL countdown, and you're looking at, game day morning on NFL Network and everything else. And then your pregame shows come on and the games start. It's like a kid on Christmas morning. But again, I digress. We're going to talk about what I'm watching for in Chicago this week. Bengals are doing joint practices. At the time that we're releasing this podcast, they're heading up to Chicago. Thursday, Friday, joint practices. Saturday's the game. Obviously don't expect Burrow to be playing in that game on Saturday. Logan Woodside will like 99.9999999% sure to be the starter in that one. So we'll see a lot of him. But the first team reps, we'll see a bulk of them in joint practices. And I haven't really thought about it much before I came on the show. Then I thought about it a little bit more. That Bears defense late last season was one of the best in the National Football League. They have a very talented roster on that side of the football. Obviously, people talk about the offense with Caleb Williams being the number 1 overall pick and drafting Rome Odunze and then trading for Keenan Allen and DJ Moore having a really good season last year and signing DeAndre Swift. Our defense will have a handful of them, so that's going to be intriguing to see how they go against them and in seeing how does a DJ Turner or Dax Hill fare against an outside receiver like Rome or DJ Moore if they move Keenan Allen out there. So defensively, I'm looking at our secondary versus these receivers, and can they toy a bit with Caleb Williams and see how they can go with that. Again, there'll probably be a bunch of highlights that come from these joint practices, and Caleb Williams will probably be getting out of the pocket and doing a lot of throwing on the run and everything else because, again, I don't want to go back to pre-draft process and everything else, but Caleb Williams, there's a lot of times where he would just get out of the pocket and just make some unnecessary throws. They could have made some of those throws in the pocket, but he's like, yeah, I'll get out of the pocket just for fun. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's not weird, but it's like it would be nice to see him make some of those throws from the pocket instead of having to get out. But hey, if a play is made, a play is made. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see what the defense, the secondary looks like against those receivers and see if it's, if those guys are really up to the challenge in that regard. When talking about our offense and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins, no Jamar Chase will be out there, but the rest of our receivers, pretty much the skill set. How do they look against this Bears secondary? How's Burrow looking against another team, but in more reps in a practice scenario? How does the offensive line look? That's obviously the main question because you're going up against a guy like Montez Sweat. How does Orlando Brown Jr. fare? How does Trent Brown fare as they're trying to ramp him up? What does the interior offensive line look like in Kappa, Karras, and Volson? How are they going to hold up, and what's Joe going to do throwing the football, and can these receivers really make their own trying to take separation off in one-on-ones? So that's a big question in that regard, just seeing how these skill position groups go against each other, and will the offensive line prevail in a joint practice like scrimmage? Who's going to get in the first fight? hey, we could take bets. I really don't care. If you're watching this far, please drop in the comments who you think from the Bengals will get in the first fight during a joint practice. My money is on either Logan Wilson or Jermaine Pratt. All I gotta say. But intrigued to see what they do in the joint practices. When we're looking at the preseason game on Saturday, mostly going to be young guys, how's Chris Jenkins going to bounce back? Again, didn't play that great on Saturday. How's he going to bounce back in this scenario? In the second preseason game, he's going to get more playing time. Can he be a run stuffer? Can he be, can he get off the line better? And can he avoid some of those blocks? And if they are throwing double teams at him, kudos to, Chris Jenkins in that regard. But if they continually throw double teams, you're going to have to learn how to get out of them. And it's going to be a tough challenge in that regard against the NFL offensive linemen. But I have faith in Chris Jenkins, the mutant, and what he'll do. Jermaine Burton, him and Logan Woodside had some type of connection, and Logan Woodside's probably going to start in this game. So I would like to see more Jermaine Burton earlier. I would like to see them use him creatively. I'd like to see him a bit more in the slot and see how he does in that regard, if he happens to be thrown in there when Jamar and T are on the outside and if Burton's in the slot. But again, excited to see what those two have, in connection wise. The other receivers, you're looking at Shedrick Jackson, you're looking at Kendrick Pryor, Kwame Lassiter II, Akeem Butler. There's a lot of other guys that are fighting for probably that 6th or 7th receiver spot, and some guys that are fighting for, on the practice squad this upcoming season. So it'll be intriguing to see how that all plays out. How does the defensive line respond? Josh Newton, can he follow up a good performance with a great performance against the Chicago Bears? I'm excited to see what Newton has in store for that. And overall, I mean, I just want to see, just other guys, running backs. I don't know what the rotation is going to look like back there. We'll probably get some more of the younger guys, out there like Elijah Collins and Kane and all them. Like there's going to be, a lot of other guys that get those reps. But, it'll be nice to see what those young guys have and who is going to show out, who's going to stand out and just be like, I made a big play and I can be reliable. Special teams will be huge. Ryan Recco, that's another guy. Is he going to consistently boom punts? And is he going to make Brad Robbins' job just completely up in the air? Is he going to make this punter battle an absolutely heated thing? And again, Dax Hill, DJ Turner, the cornerback battle there. Dax looked pretty good Saturday. He was one of the studs. So, how's that going to play out? I'm excited to see what there is in store on Saturday with this. Again, we've come to the end of the show. There will probably, there'll obviously be more stuff to talk about on next week's show once we see more of what the Bengals have and how things play out. It's tough to kind of go through with the first preseason game. You kind of have to judge things with a grain of salt, and then you see it the next time, and you're like, oh, I have a better idea of what might be going on, or who might be on the fringe of getting cut, or who, probably looks like they'll be the starter and everything else. The more games you get, the more stuff you see, and the more opinions and assumptions that you're able to have. So again, we're 25 days away from Bengals football and 22 days away from the season opener. It's going to be a huge weekend. You're thinking about the NFL kickoff game on Thursday night, a Brazil game on Friday, college football on Saturday, the NFL on Sunday, and then a Monday night football game. I mean, 5 days straight of just great football going on, and we are not far from it. Next time I'm doing this show, I'll be down in the city of Cincinnati in my apartment, and it'll be a fun time to be down there, immersed into the city, immersed into the black and orange, and down there on the river in the 513. Excited to go back to school at the University of Cincinnati. But again, from the home studios here in Springfield, Ohio, this is myself, Chase Yantz, and we will see you guys next time on the Cut to the Chase.